guys, I've got a nice addition to a more simplified version of particle collisions. So if you want like use larger size particles, and that way you could use less of them, it's more performant, and you don't need to do collision checks per triangle across the entire level or even per node. I've got a nice method that works extremely well. So for example, you've got a boxed area, it could be a cave, a house or whatever, something indoors that you want to get out of the weather. Now by default, of course, particles go through everything, but I've got a method to turn the particles off for boxed areas. I call it boxed alpha. So if I just press activate it now, looks at the size of the box, gets the dimensions, and just simply, it doesn't even cull the, it doesn't even need to delete the billboard node that it's using. It just makes it invisible. It just goes straight through the building, but you don't see it. It looks like it stops at the edges, so it works really well. Yeah, almost hardly see anything come through at all. So it's all automatically calculated. The size of the box gets everything gets automatically calculated. You don't have to send through the name of the box. That's all you do, and then it will get the node. It'll get the size, the dimensions, position, everything it needs to calculate and run. So you can see on all sides, none of the particles come through. Immediately, if the particles are really large, it does have to cull. Well, it's not culling. It does have to make invisible the side particles, so you won't necessarily see a lot of particles around the edges if the particle size is too big. If you make them smaller, then you'll have more particles around the outside edge, outside of the box, that you can see if you want to see that. But as you can see, this is the wall. Pretty much nothing gets through. Virtually nothing at all. I can't see much at all. Yeah, so, and then on the exiting, because I'm not culling it, I'm actually just turning it as invisible. It comes back on again. But it's a delayed reaction compared to the speed of it disappearing here and coming back. I've made it much more delayed, so it looks a little bit more realistic. So you can see it's slowly fading back in. Yeah. So we're not actually culling anything. It's just it's so simple. It's almost beautiful actually, and it works really well. So if you've got a house, okay, so if you've got a house, just say it's called house, just get the correct name of it, send that through. It's all you need to do, and turn, it's what I call boxed alpha, because it's a boxed area that just the alpha. This is different as compared to the, turning on collisions with particles. This is far simpler and way more performant. Doesn't really cost anything actually, to be honest, but it does a good job. You know, for general purposes, it does a very good job. If you need more exact impact positions and so forth, then you need to use the collision API that I made for the train and other things. It'll detect the exact heat position, which you can use, you know, to spawn a collision impact or whatever else if you need to do that. But if you just need to turn the particles off, this works really well. So I've just called it boxed alpha. Just send through the boxed alpha name. The wind particle node, that's just the actual particle system node. Very simple. Set C node property. Alright, so you've got your crazy particle system going, a pretty intense bit of weather. You want to get inside, find your location you want to go in, but obviously you need to turn the particles off first. It's coming through the building as normal, but I'll just activate it first so you can see. So you'd normally activate it at a distance, you know, somewhere, I don't know, probably a bit further away actually, because it might impact the local particles. And then you go in and you're all good. So I've got an information little thing that tells me max alpha is fully, you can have full alpha, fully opaqueness. Alpha there 255 means it's opaque actually. 0 alpha in that regard means it's fully transparent actually. So it's a little bit backwards there, but anyway. boxed alpha on, yeah, number 1 means it's on. The house, name of the house that the box you're using is called house. Size, it tells you the size, so it measures the size of the box, which is good automatically. 140, 109, 126, X, Y, and Z. Particles, it tells you the number of particles you're using. So now that you're indoors, you can go up and you can see that yeah, the particles are getting stopped at the edge of the bounding box of the mesh. So that's pretty cool. And then you can also see that they're coming back again a bit slower. So that looks cool. I think that looks pretty good. Yeah. Information, yeah, so it tells you the number of particles, what's going on. Yes, that works really well. It's such a simple thing that I made with lots of adjustments. I got it all to work nice. Now, notice how it's cutting out at the edge of, maybe if you don't like it's cutting out close, a bit too far away from the building, you want it to be a bit closer. So the bounding box edge is that right there, that a little bit away from the house, not much. Say for example, see this thing overhanging, maybe you don't want to cut the particles out showing on the veranda, but you only want it from like that edge there backwards. Very simple. You don't have to use the bounding box of the house. Really simple fix. Create a new bounding box. See, like that. You don't need collision or anything else turned on. It can be invisible. That only just covers the very basic house, so it cuts out the veranda and other things. So, you know, at least half the veranda there it'll cut out, but you can change it how you like. So, yeah, so then you can adjust the bounding box that you want to use. In this case, I've changed it to house box. One thing, when you're changing any mesh size, including a new bounding box or whatever the case may be, the scale will change, but you have to get the correct bounding box size for this to work, you have to freeze scale and normalize normals. You have to do that, otherwise it's not going to correctly measure the new adjusted size of the mesh if you're changing the scale at all. So it has to be 1, 1, 1 for this to work properly. So now we use house box as the name. Go into here. We press a key, whatever key, doesn't matter, I've just put it as C. Now the house, we don't use the house mesh, we use the house box bounding box instead. That's the only change, very simple. And now when we run it, I'll just get a bit further away for activate it. So you're in outdoors, crazy. Oh, I should have hidden the bounding box. I didn't hide it, but anyway, it doesn't matter. It'll still work. It works when you hide it. It still works if you hide it. So okay, so you got that. Activate collision when you're a little bit further away. It's not really collision. So now the bounding box is active. The new bounding box, I should say. So the particles will come in a bit closer now. And if I go out here, you can be affected by particles sometimes as well. Not too often, but sometimes. It's because I've got the size of the particles are so big that I've had to use half the maximum width of each particle and the maximum width half of the house, and then look at both those things. Yeah, so the particles are a little bit closer than what they were. See that? A little bit closer than what they were before. And you can change the size of the bounding box if it's too big. You can make it even smaller, but I wouldn't make it too much smaller because the particles may slightly appear inside the house on occasions, very slightly. But yeah, works really well. So simple. I would say it has pretty much zero impact on performance, pretty much zero, because you're not changing the material, you're only changing the alpha value of certain particles. It runs it so fast, it's crazy. Yeah, pretty much zero impact on performance. Pretty good, actually. And this is, you know, a simple thing like this. You can do so much with this. You can make, you know, have indoor cave areas, really simple, where you go in, you get out of the weather. I mean, in a lot of the particles, so this will work vertically or horizontally. It doesn't matter which way the particles are moving, it'll still work. Yeah, so it's not just for wind, but you can use it for actual rain effects or other things. Um, yeah, so I mean, if you need say something like meteorite effect, well, probably not for that because you'd need to use a proper collision detection for that. If you want to see impact position explosions and sound effects from different positions, that's you'd use collision. But this is very good for just generally. I've mainly used it for my new wind effect. I spent ages creating an action that does a pretty good wind effect actually. I'm not entirely sure how performant it is. It's okay. I've done it, but I spent ages doing that, and it works quite well. But this method is so much simpler, and it works pretty much as well. Actually, in a lot of ways, it works better because I can have way more particles this way, and it looks more realistic. Now, my own way, I had to limit the number of particles because it could eat into the performance a bit because I'm cloning a stack of X configuration meshes which holds the information, or I can clone individual billboards too, but yeah, so but it eventually will have an impact, but yeah, this method so simple. If you think the particles are being made invisible too close, so in other words you can't see enough particles close enough to the house, then you need to make the particles smaller. Just have to make them smaller and create a lot more of them. That's all. So if you're happy to do that, then that's fine. So if you're going to do that, you can, of course. You just need to change this here, minimum and max size. Just make that lower. I've got it at 125. You could go down to 50, between 50 and 100, or even less if you want. But if the smaller you make it, you're going to make a good looking weather effect. If that's what you want to make, you're going to have to increase the number of particles. So here, have to increase the maximum number and how fast they spawn. You're going to have to increase that as well. At the moment, it's very low. It doesn't use that many particles. And on top of that, when you position the particle effect, you need to put it upwind, so to speak, of where the player is, so that it can sort of, from the direction that it's coming from, could be this way or that way or at an angle, you need to position this wind effect, the particle effect, up ahead of the player considerably, so that when it spawns in these new particles, you don't really see it, it's too far away. And then on top of that, you don't need these particles to go down this way forever to the right hand side, all the way down. That's just wasting particles. So then you'll need to be carefully managing the minimum and maximum lifetime. Yeah, so the minimum and maximum lifetime will be fully dependent on how fast you're wanting the particle to move, which is these numbers here. So from the position that it starts, passes the player position and continues on another same amount of distance, so to speak. How fast that happens will determine how the minimum and maximum lifetime. You may need to make adjustments for that. I might actually automatically do something there. So it looks at the speed, but yeah. But then again, that'll also depend on where you place the wind, the particle effect to begin with, compared to the player. You don't want to put the particle effect exactly where the player is, because then you'll see all these particles being spawned in and it'll look silly. And then you have a whole stack of particles going away from the player for a very long distance, so you don't really need to do that. So yeah, I guess I'll leave that to you guys to manage. But yeah, but this works really well. So simple. This is the entire code just here, real simple stuff. I've ended it with a ABS, looks at the mesh, the box position, each particle position on the X, Y, and Z, the distance. So particles can come from vertically down, or come horizontally, or from any angle, X, Y, or Z. And it says it's within a certain distance, then adjust the alpha accordingly. So it's in that distance between when it starts to fade out and when it stops. You want it to just end at the edge of the bounding box. Anyway, this works perfectly. So simple. And when it leaves, I've increased the bounding alpha, I call it box alpha gap, to 3 times the starting box alpha gap. So it sort of fades back in a bit slower, looks a bit more realistic. Yeah, particle color, get the alpha, and then multiply it by percentage and set that as the new alpha. So it doesn't affect fade out effectors, will still work just as normal. If it's starting to fade out with the fade out effector, this will just take that and apply it correctly and adjust it. Yeah, it's all been tested, works really well. Yeah, so really nice and simple addition. Alright, so when you're, so the information, if you want that information about the particle system, it's like an API, but it's a new property attribute actually. So you just put in the particle effect, then you call it box alpha debug, and just put in true, and it'll run once and turn off until you run it again, and it'll just give you that bit of information that you're looking at. Actually, you can use it for probably measure if you need to measure the size of really large things, you can use it for that too if you want. That alone, it's very useful. Yeah, so it works pretty good. Pretty happy with that actually. So once again, just a simple property attribute added in rather than an API. It's a bit easier. Just I've called it boxed alpha. So put in a variable. In this case, it's just reversing. So if it was true, just turns it off. If it was off, it turns back on. All right. So boxed alpha true, and then boxed alpha name. Just put the actual name in inverted commas. You don't need to send through the node. It'll work that out, work out the size, the position and everything, and it will adjust everything accordingly. It works really good. Yeah, so I hope you like that. Let me know what you think. Cheers.